Hello everyone and welcome to the Shadow Realm. Today we're going to showcase my pure fossil deck profile. But before we start, friendly reminder to subscribe to the channel and like the video for more content like this. Also keep in mind that this deck is made to go second and OTK your opponent as fast as possible. We're of course playing triple copies of Weathering Soldier. When sent to the graveyard we search for a fossil fusion or a card that lists fossil fusion in its text. And in order to do so we play triple copies of Mathematician. This is the main normal summon of the deck and we want to use his effect in order to bait our opponent's negates. We are also playing double copies of Nemeses Keystone. The card acts as a free extender if we have a banished monster, and if it gets banished, it returns to the hand during the end phase. This wouldn't be a going second deck if we wouldn't play Kaijus. We play double copies of Radian, the Interdimensional Kaiju. In this specific version, playing the dark one is really important, as you will see later. We are also playing one copy of Pankratops and one copy of Lithosagym the Disaster. The True King can trigger the effect of Weathering Soldier from the hand and can also banish cards from our opponent's extra deck. And this wouldn't be a fossil deck without 3 copies of Fossil Fusion. The card allows you to fusion summon using fusion materials from both graveyards, and also recurs back to hand. We're also playing triple copies of Rupture in order to send Weathering Soldier to the graveyard and trigger his effect to get Fossil Fusion back to our hand. And of course we're also playing the single copy of Time Stream. The card allows us to fusion climb into bigger monsters and OTK our opponent with this. And the reason that this deck can go second and OTK with this is triple copies of Super Polymerization. This card alone allows us to break our opponent's boards and create our own monsters using their monsters from the graveyard. As for the powerful one-offs, we play a single copy of Fool's Burial, a copy of Dragonic Diagram and one copy of Instant Fusion. Keep in mind that Dragonic Diagram can trigger the effect of Weathering Soldier from hand. And of course we play the single copy of Monster Reborn to get back our opponent's monsters that we sent from Super Poly. And as for the Psyche one-off, I play the single copy of Raigeki. Now moving on to the hand traps in this deck. We play triple copies of Nibiru the Primal Being. The card is incredibly powerful and no one plays around Nibiru, especially in game 1. It's also a rock monster that's really relevant with Fossil Fusion. And since we want our opponent's monsters to be in the graveyard, we play triple copies of PSY-Framegear Gamma and the one copy of Driver. With so many spells that send to the graveyard or add from the deck to the hand, we always have the free space in order to activate Gamma from the hand and destroy our opponent's monsters and proceed to OTK them. As for the generic hand traps, we also play triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. In combination with any other hand trap, this card can end their turn. And to round down to the hand trap lineup, we play triple copies of Infinite Impermanence. Impermanence is great either going first or going second, and it always plays around triple tactics talent. Now let's move on to the extra deck. We play a single copy of Rebo, so we can link off Nemeses Keystone, and we're also playing the one copy of Predaplant Verte and Akoda. Verte can't copy the effect of Fossil Fusion, but can easily copy the effect of Super Poly. As for the only Xyz in the deck, we play a single copy of Gallant Granite. Moving on to the Fossil Fusion monsters, we play double copies of Fossil Dragon Skullgar and one copy of Fossil Warrior Skullbone. When banished from the graveyard, Skullgar searches Fossil Fusion, while Skullbone searches Time Stream. And as for the bigger monsters, we play double copies of Fossil Warrior Skull King and one copy of Fossil Warrior Skull Knight. Skull King can attack twice while also dealing piercing damage, and he can also revive a monster from our opponent's graveyard. And as for the big boss monster of the deck, we play one copy of Fossil Dragon Skullgios. This is the Chaos Max of the deck. And as for the target for the instant fusion, we play one copy of Millennium Miser's Rift. Now let's move on to our Super Poly targets. We play one copy of Starving Venom, one copy of Almarduke, one copy of Cordius, and one copy of the Swamp Dragon. Depending on your local scene, you can choose to either reduce or increase the Super Poly targets. And that wraps up the extra deck. Now let's move on to the side deck. For going first, we play triple copies of Torrential Tribute. The game plan going first is to stop our opponents from creating their full board, and we can OTK them next turn. To achieve that, we are also playing triple copies of Solemn Judgment. We use Solemn Judgment to negate an important summon or stop one of our opponent's blowout cards. Next up, to deal with heavy backrow decks or decks that lack any spell trap removal, we play triple copies of Evenly Matched. Depending on the decks you're facing, you can change this for triple copies of Lightning Storm. Now for more backrow hate, we play triple copies of Cosmic Cyclone. Sadly, Twin Twisters can't trigger the effect of Weathering Soldier, so we're sticking with this. We're also playing triple copies of Skullmeister, since the card is not once per turn and it can deal with multiple threats in the graveyard. And that basically concludes today's deck profile. If you played the deck before, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm looking forward for more fossil cards possibly arriving in Brothers of Legend set. Meanwhile, if you want to support the channel in any way, shape or form, make sure you check the links in the description below. Until next time, be kind, stay safe, and I will see you in the Shadow Realm.